Welcome to The Shadow Side with Safrianna, the podcast where we illuminate what others too often keep hidden in the dark. I'm your host, Safrianna Luna, and I believe that true growth and healing happen when we're brave enough to explore the shadows. As you listen, may you find greater understanding and awareness around your personal stories and collective trends. Take care of yourself, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Shadow Side with Safrianna. I am Safrianna Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide, and as always, it is a delight to be here with another guest conversation today with one of my dear friends, Adriana Keefe, who I have had so many wonderful conversations with in prior podcasts, on her podcast, in networking calls I wish were recorded. We just always have great conversations. And today we are here to talk about being rebels by design and the shadows of the spiritual reclamation arc that we humans go through, as well as the wounds that end up wiring us. So if you would be so kind as to introduce yourself, my friend.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you for having me. I'm just sitting here thinking, is this my first podcast interview of the year? I think it might be. I haven't done a whole lot lately. I am Adriana Keefe, the Human Design Priestess. I live in central Massachusetts with my husband and 3 kids. But if you ask what I really do, like my doing in life, it's all around my own self-healing journey. And when I get to do that, I guess I'm going to use the word magically, help other women reclaim their power at the same time through just like being the role model, being what I speak of and what I learn, and inviting other women to join in this journey with me. So I use human design, but that's not my only tool, which is where the priestess comes in. I really wanted a whole bucket full of tools, and it's really just like embodying the power that lies within us. Like I get on this whole tangent about the womb space and how we literally create life. Like if I say how, yes, I understand the science of how we create life, but like really, it's wild.
It is wild. And yeah, thank you for all that you do in the world. I love human design, and I love that you are similarly like, and I needed this whole toolkit because I know you are also a manifesting generator, like me.
Yep.
And just in case you don't know me, I already said I'm Safrianna Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide, but I'm a licensed therapist turned transformational mentor. I love human design, but I'm not nearly as much of an expert as Adriana is. Like, go chat with her seriously. But this grab bag experience of being quote unquote healers in the world, people who are showing up to just be embodied in their wisdom and process and growth and inspiring other people to do the same. So I'd love to hear a little bit around this topic of being rebels by design. And you, like me, are a survivor. You have lived through all kinds of things. How did what you've been through, this is a big question, how has what you've been through helped inform that you need to rebel against what we currently face in our day and age?
Yeah, you're right. I knew as soon as you started to ask it, I was like, she's going to go the big question.
I'm going to leave it
What's coming to mind is the idea of fact, I don't know what the right word is for this, that I am okay with the abuse that happened to me because I see what I'm here to do. And so a lot of times when I'll mention trigger warning for anyone who wants to skip ahead a little bit, when I mention that I have a history of sexual abuse and physical abuse, and people will be like, I'm so sorry. And I'm probably the weirdest person they've ever met. Cause I'm like, I'm not. Like I see the gift that I was able to bring to my lineage, especially the women in my lineage. I don't know for sure, but I have suspicions that other women who came before me in my lineage have likely endured something similar. I mean, the stats on sexual abuse are insane. So let's just say probably. But I was the first who was able to actually finally use my voice. And I did get ostracized from my family for that. There's still part of my family that I haven't seen ever since I went to court over this. But I do see how one of my greatest wounds, which actually is the wound of being able to receive, is here as a part of my journey. When you look at your life as like the journey of healing, kind of like just the hero's journey, that's what I believe that we're here for. It's like this game of like, how much deeper can we go? I see why everything happened to me, and I see the gift that it's brought for me. And of course, in my human design, the universe decided to gift me with the channel of struggle. So I'm literally someone who will not stop until I feel fulfilled with something. Even when I'm like, I'm done, I'm giving up. It's like, I just literally don't have it in me to give up. And that's how I was created. I was created to not give up so I can break multiple different barriers for the women in my lineage and hopefully the men too. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I believe so. Generational healing is
Yeah.
something we really, really collectively need to do. And I'm right there with you. Like, I've survived those things as well. And I think I have the same stance as you now.
Now. Yes.
And that's what I'd like to speak a little bit to is this the part in the hero's journey where we're not ready to rebel. We,
Mm.
in fact, might think, oh, this happened to me because I'm bad, or I did something to deserve this, or I'm unworthy. And I think that that's part of this narrative that creates the wound of receiving is like, because this awful thing happened to me, it must mean something bad about me. I think so many of us live in that belief system for a long time. I know I did through most of my 20s.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, was that always the case for you? Or when were you able to make that transition into more of that empowerment? Like, oh, this means I actually get to help people navigate similar things because it is all too common. I don't have to judge or demean myself or diminish myself for having been through these experiences. Where was that shift for you?
It's so interesting that you ask this because my answer is probably going to be not what you expect. I believe, and looking back now, I can see because when I was young, up until like 26, 27, when I found human design, I didn't believe in God, universe, energies. I didn't believe anything was out there. I tried to just like, my family was Catholic and I tried to believe in that and it just wasn't there for me. However, there was definitely always some force or some guides protecting me
Mhm.
because as much as my body repressed a lot of things, I somehow never really went down the wrong, quote, wrong path. I just kind of kept moving. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until this past year, I am year of the snake. So this past year of the snake really did me in. But I am so much greater now. Like I am so cool now. But this actually just came up for the first time, at least in my current memory, where I realized I did have a lot of beliefs subconsciously about what my abuse experiences meant about me.
Mhm.
So it was very recent that I started to recognize that I had these thoughts of like, well, I deserved it, or all the stuff that came through. So that is still pretty much pending. And if I'm looking back trying to be like, how did I decide to rebel? It was the birth of my daughter when I was 25. I looked at her. Oh, I'm going to get emotional.
It's all good.
And I was like, this person that did this to me is still out there because when I told an adult when I was young, nothing was done. And
Yeah.
so this person was still out there and I'm looking at my baby daughter and I'm like, I couldn't if I don't say anything, I'm not helping any other little girl that's out there or boy. And I just couldn't as a mom, I could not see that different the perception was just completely flipped.
Mm.
So I think becoming a mother, as unexpected as it was everything I needed to decide like fuck that we can swear, right?
Yo, this is the shadow side. We can fucking
Yes,
swear.
yes. Like, fuck this. Like, I want to make a better world for her. Because before that, I was just like blissfully unaware. I was partying and living life, and that was it. But she changed everything for me.
Yes. Yeah, I remember I unfortunately do not have any living children, but I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter
Mm.
going through something so similar. Like, if I'm going to raise her, we can't keep going through this, right? Like, seeing right now the Epstein files and what's happening with that, I think is bringing so much generational trauma to the forefront with so many people. I think it's literally collectively pushing a lot of us survivors' memories to the surface and making us contend with how society views us. And I think that a really unfortunate thing is it's like your daughter came into the world and has been protected and not in any bad situations yet. But to some people, They literally view that right now she is pure and she is whole and she is unmarred. And if she were to experience abuse, she would be broken and damaged. And like, these are the societal narratives that are pushed. And that is freaking crazy making to me.
Yep.
Because survivors also have this dual reality of going through the world, having not only experienced some awful thing that some people never experience. Thank God not all people experience these things, right? But being treated then as lesser than because of that.
Yep.
And so to really stand in our rebel power and be like, yeah, okay, this happened. And how do I make the world not keep allowing this to happen? Like, people are flabbergasted by that, right? They get the, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Versus when we finally get in our power, it's like there is the fire of fury that you cannot tame. Because we are not going to sit by passively and continue to let these things happen.
Yes.
So I love that you claimed that.
Wow, yeah.
And that you took action. Like, and not everybody's going to take action on reporting abuse, but that is a step that we have to keep taking, even though we see perpetrators go unscathed and untouched again and again and again.
Yep.
But that's in part because we continue to have a society that props them up.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully not for much longer, but yes.
Yeah. And so this spiritual self-reclamation, part of it was your daughter. What did that do inside you? Like, how did that help you change your relationship to that girl within you who experienced what you went through?
This, and when you ask these questions, I'm like, I really got to sit with spirit and ask what the fuck this was, because I've never asked. Like, I was like in my own world. I don't even know. I was not spiritually aware even when I had her, even when I had these thoughts of like, I can't let this happen to other people. Like, in those, it took me years from that point to be like, oh, I accept my abuse, because if I have to take one so that thousands, millions of women don't, I will be that person. Like, that is 1,000% what I'm here to do. And there are so many like little pockets of time that you're so thankfully pointing out for me. Cause like, I'm going to have to go back to this and listen and be like, this time frame and this time frame where I was not aware, but I must have just been guided to do or say certain things, but I was not conscious of those things. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the subconscious is a very powerful thing. And I think that our intuition is a very powerful thing.
Yes. I do think that activated. Like, when my womb held life, I think that which a lot of women say, that just like activated intuition for the first time since I was a child, because disassociated from my body. I think she brought me back to my body, which probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. And talking about that connection with your womb again, this creative, fertile space, when we're disconnected from that, we're disconnected from our creativity. And this is even for people without actual literal wombs, whether you've had yours removed or you never had one in the first place. We still have that energetic space. And when we are disconnected from our sexuality, which often happens when we've survived sexual trauma, because it gets really complicated, like, that is such a loss of a life force. Can you speak at all to like the importance of the womb and the sacral in human design?
I just got tingles. I literally have like whole programs focused on the sacral center. And the priestess elective I'm in this year for learning is literally, it's snake priestess. It is of the womb, the yoni. Like, that is my fascination. Like, I'm a Taurus. Like, if you look at your chart, the juxtaposition of like how you were designed and what shit you went through, it's on purpose. Like, you can't have a Taurus who doesn't want to have sex. Like, that is not okay. So where do we begin with this space? So yeah, like you mentioned, you don't have to have a womb or even be a woman, because we all have this sacral center. That being said, my, I guess, specialty, I'd say, is within the feminine womb space or the feminine sacral center. We literally, yes, it's fertility. It is sexuality. We create life from there, but it is the creation of all. Like, nothing is here. Nothing exists without the creation of it. And so that has always been very fascinating to me. And how do we access that, and how do we turn that on? And that is a form of intuition, and just finding ways to let that creation flow through. We are all creators. That's why they call manifesting co-creation. You're creating with the universe. So the more that we can practice accessing this space, which is like, if most people can understand like the gut feeling, that's what sacral is. It's the gut. What feels like a gut yes or a gut no, or like my gut was just pulling me somewhere. That's one of the most basic ways that you begin to connect with this center. And then over time, you start to trust it more and let it lead more. And especially as women, the more we do that, that's where we hold our power. That's where, like, I mean, I'm a big studier of ancient Egypt and sex magic and Kundalini energy, and like the base of the spine and the sacral center, like there is literal magic that happens there. And when you can turn it on and access it and let it flood through your body, it's like floating through life sometimes, like with the synchronicities that line up. Like perhaps this is really where manifestation actually comes from. Like, can you feel your body or not? And that's how we actually call things to us. I'm going to pause there because I could keep going. So, what questions do you have?
I mean, I love it. Yeah. This is just getting into the root of why we need to have this connection.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when we survive awful things, we lose connection with our body
Right.
and various parts of our body. And if you are a survivor out there of sexual trauma, the likelihood you're cut off from the sacral space is huge.
Yep.
So I love this, when we reconnect, it's almost like we can float through life. What are some of the other benefits of being really in tune with that, like really deeply connected to that sacral space?
This is where we feel joy and passion. I mean, what you're really excited about, it doesn't matter your human design. In general, what you're fucking obsessed with, there's a reason for that. You're supposed to have something to do with that here. You'll literally, especially if you're a generator type, feel the energy to create that thing in your body. And so anyone, even non-generator types, like if this is where we create from, if you're feeling stuck in life, like you're not making money, like you can never have the right career, you don't know what to go to school for, it's like a lot of the answers are all in there. And so when you begin to access that, you start to feel more passion for life again, because you go and play with the hobbies that you've been wanting to do, and you start to study the work you've been wanting to study, or go meet the people you've been wanting to meet. And I say that like it's so easy. Like there's a lot of self-limiting beliefs that come up along the way, which you and I both know we've had to battle many along the way.
Yes.
Not to besides joy and passion and creativity, if you were to think back at a time in your life when you felt so heightened like that, I would bet your sex drive was also increased. And so if you are a mom like me and you've been married for a long time to the same person, and maybe sex is getting a little like, I need to force myself to do it. I actually don't really believe in the forcing yourself to do sex. I can understand why people say that, just to make sure you have the connection. But especially for people like you and I who have been through some type of forceful intimacy like that, like that's not what we need to do. But the more that you can actually just like get back into your joy, the more the rest of it will naturally turn on and or lead you to the right path to turn it on, which has very much been my journey.
Yeah, well, I love that. I mean, I think about as a creative, when I'm writing my books, when I am doing my art, when I'm collaborating with my partner, yeah, the sex drive goes up because we're using that fertile force. And of course, I also work with a lot of asexual people and whatnot too. If that's the case, if you genuinely are asexual, like there's still this creative outpouring that happens and this zeal for life that can happen with that connection.
Yes.
So I want to go a little deeper.
I love your face. You're like scared. Like, yes, give it to me.
I want to go a little deeper into the shadow of this, because when we are disconnected, and we've already touched on this some, but when we're disconnected from that womb space, so often we are cutting ourselves off from receiving anything good in the world. So when we're cut off, what are some of these other problems that you see cropping up for people if we're not leaning into the way that we're designed to be joyful and creative?
Yeah. We see it manifest a lot these days, especially in women, in anxious thoughts, anxiety. And that could be like physical anxiety, like what I often have in my body, or it could be just like the constant thinking and the decision fatigue and the overstimulation. Like Listen, I mean, I have a lot of kids. The overstimulation can be real if I'm not paying attention to my own needs. And I know that's that whole put your oxygen mask on first. Like, there's a reason people say that, guys.
Yeah.
But like, take that seriously. So anxiety, depression, and hopelessness, especially for moms. I mean, I see it in everyone, but oh God, for moms, especially, like, we are just in that, the society still, it is starting to evolve, but still, like, if you're not putting your kid first, you're a bad mom. If you're not showing up to all these things, you're a bad mom. And there's a lot of undoing we have to do there. Ultimately, what I can say is, like, my mom did all those things and I still don't feel connected to her. I still don't feel like we had a great relationship growing up. In fact, what I remember is a poor marriage, and remember looking at that and being like, God, I really hope that's not what marriage is like, because, like, I don't want to, right? So we know from evidence that that is not the best case scenario for your children or you, unless that's something you really fucking love. Like, if you
Mhm.
are all about, like, I want to go be the Girl Scout troop leader, and you're like obsessed with it, and maybe your kid's even in that troop, total different vibe. But what I see to be true is, like, when we are so turned on by life, granted, there's going to be ebbs and flows.
Of
It's like
course.
life is a journey. Our kids see that and they see that potential for themselves. And we get to set the bar higher for what kind of man or woman they decide to marry, or what kind of job they have, how much money they make. It's everywhere. And then, of course, we make less money when we're uninspired. You can force, absolutely. And ultimately, you're going to find burnout. I mean, we've seen lots of people hospitalized over burnout from work and things like that. My own husband, his lupus seems to be going systemic from work burnout and all these things, and really just having a lack of joy and passion for himself and what he wants to do. And he knows this. Like, he's totally cool with me talking about it, by the way. We're not like shading on my husband. When you are, I mean, this has been like my daily experiment very recently because 2025 kicked my ass.
Yeah.
You just, like, I've been getting back into dancing more, and I really want to learn how to sing. And I want to start taking, well, I started taking singing lessons, but I want to start taking salsa dancing lessons, and just like all these other things that make no sense in business. Yet I find myself having way more synchronicity with money coming in. And
Mhm.
it's never what you would expect, but it's just like, oh, you want me to do that for you and you'll pay me? Okay, sure. Right. So it's like, all this is where the magic really happens, when we're feeling lit up.
And that's part of the spiritual reclamation, I think. Spirit, to me, I really like to caveat, spiritual does not mean religious.
Hmm.
Spiritual is our soul. It's our connection to something that is outside of our body,
Yeah.
essentially. And that is part of that reclamation work, is like reclaiming our joy. And it's almost like you can picture that little inner fire, the spiritual fire, getting bigger and glowing brighter and illuminating more the more we fuel it with joy and what is good for us, based on
Yep.
us, our unique preferences and designs, not what we've been told.
Hmm.
And so I want to go back to this money piece, because I know so many of us right now are feeling the pinch in this like real economic situation we find ourselves in. And yeah, from the spiritual and the manifesting perspective, it's absolutely true that when we're in more aligned energy and we're leading from leadership, not from disempowerment, things kind of line themselves up better. We have more energy to notice the synchronicities and the opportunities. So, what's your experience with this? Having survived the things you've survived and gone through your journey, what has that money journey been like for you with really receiving?
All right, we're going to start with this. So, let me give some context to how I was raised with money. And we were middle class, I would say, when I was young. And then at some point, my father was hospitalized and on suicide watch, and very, like, I needed to support the family. But I found out now as an adult, he's a projector. And so he was literally exhausted and depressed. And so after that, he decided to leave that job and go into a way lower paying salary, which then we became more of a lower middle class family. So we lived in a middle class town, but we would have what the kids would call welfare lunches, like the cheap
Mhm.
lunches and all of that. But I can respect that what they did to try and keep us, our family, like, stable. I wouldn't have made the choices they made with, like, taking out a second mortgage and all that. But
A little tough.
yeah, like they definitely tried to like keep it stable for us instead of taking care of themselves by maybe downsizing or something like that. We very much got the like, you need to start saving now, or you're never going to be able to retire. Money doesn't grow on trees. I remember a really emotional argument over, or not argument, I don't remember what exactly it was. That sounds like it's overblowing it, over a speeding ticket, which was probably like $40 or $50. So the money story is a real issue, was a real issue for me. I do very much see that it comes in layers. Just like the snake, we shed the next layer when we're meant to. So when I first began my journey with human design, that was the first time as an adult where I was like really in my most authentic creation mode and obsessed with something that I was teaching and selling and marketing. And for that, I was definitely financially rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always these, I don't want to call them hiccups, like kind of hiccups. It's like, okay, here's the next little speed bump that we as in the universe want to see you expand even more. So what do you do if we pull this rug or do this? And then it's just this constant evolution. The one that I'm in now is, okay, I've seen that I can be compensated for doing something I really fucking love. Like that's big. For a lot of people, they don't believe that they can get paid to do what they love.
Right.
I'm so glad that I now understand that. And the next layer I'm still in it, letting it be easy. That's what I'm finding, because I have a Capricorn stellium. I will work. Yeah. But I started to notice over the last maybe year and a half that I was like, I'd really just love to have, like, when all the kids are in school, a day where I don't have anything and I can just float.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I kind of upper limited and everything started to go wrong. The money was being pulled from me. Everything was going wrong last year. And just now I'm starting to really see the patterning of, oh, it's about, can I exist knowing that making money can be easy and I don't have to consistently show up and just burn the midnight oil all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the layer I'm in now. But it is like a one thing at a time. And you get a little comfy, and then it's like, oh, can we test the waters a little bit? But I would take that over complacency any day. Any day.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been witnessing your journey, and you are really a person who keeps stepping out bigger, right? Keep stepping out with more of your voice. And that's honestly how it should be. I use should very, very sparingly, but I don't think we should go from 0 to 2000. I think we want to be unpacking this like slow unfolding. So you've been doing that your whole life, and you're in another layer of it now. Like that's literally how this is supposed to go in the human journey. We don't one and done it. But I love everything that you've shared with this, and peeling back the layers of the journey one piece at a time. I, as somebody who's been following along with your journey, have seen the way that you've started to really look at the world with some even fresher lenses, and also your unique place of being a mixed race person at this point in time. And I'm wondering if that is coming up as you're stepping more into yourself and seeing collectively what we need to rebel against. How has your intersection of past experience and identity informed the way that you step forward?
So this is something that I'm still putting the pieces together on. Well, I remember a couple years ago, I met someone who's still a friend of mine, and she looks white like me. It turned out she's half Puerto Rican like me. And I don't remember how we got into this conversation, but we ended up talking about how like we don't feel like we fit in either of those societies. I remember I grew up in a very white town, but I always felt like way too much, way too sassy, way too eccentric for them. But then there was like this one group of like Hispanic kids, but I was like too white for them. And so I never thought anything of it, except for as a kid, I was just like, I just don't fit in. And that could be for a lot of different reasons. But it was this moment meeting this friend a couple years ago where I was like, oh my God, that was it. I never felt like, 'cause I don't speak Spanish, I don't feel like I fit in here. And I used to really hold that grudge against my dad for he used to teach us when we were little, but then he stopped at some point. Now as an adult, I can really see like he was literally working himself to the bone and just like all these other things. But I have this shame around, like, my dad always tells me, check Hispanic on the box. And I would be like, but why? I'm white as shit. Like, what, they're not going to accept me if I click. Like, I remember college applications. I was like, they're not going to accept me if I click that I'm Latina.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that was a whole thing that I didn't even think about. Right. Like, it's just, I was a child doing that. When looking back now, that was probably the smarter move to make, because I know they have to get certain ethnicities or whatever. I don't know. But there's just been a lot that I've been, especially this year with Bad Bunny and the halftime show, there's been a lot more that's come up for me recently where I felt compelled to speak and use my voice against. I mean, like, I literally was in Puerto Rico last year, and you can see the ruin that is still there from hurricanes 9 years ago. Yet they're supposed to be a part of the United States. It's like we only want them to be a part of the United States when we want them to be. But then other than that, we're like, no, you can't have our funding. Your people aren't white enough. Like, there's just all this. But as I noticed everything come up around Bad Bunny, I immediately retreated in, and I was like, well, I don't know enough and I don't speak the language and blah, blah, blah. But I tried to find really light ways to dip my toe in reminding people that, like, especially people on my feed who were watching what was the white guy's other halftime show? Kid Rock.
Kid Rock.
Yeah. I was like, okay, do you guys remember I'm Puerto Rican? But okay. So I was just kind of like dipping my toe in speaking out about that, much like everything politically. And I do that because I need to learn safety in certain boundaries. If I were to just like full blown, I don't know, go and grab a microphone and stand in the middle of the community center or something, my nervous system would shut down. But I've learned if I just kind of tiptoe in, not tiptoe around, tiptoe in to these things, and I start to educate myself more, and I start to use my voice in small ways and make sure that I'm cool with people like unsubscribing from my email list or whatever it is, unfollowing me. Everything, you just kind of get that confidence in yourself and you start to trust yourself more. And because it is a value of mine to love me, like, that is a part of me. And so it's literally all a part of my healing journey. I don't know if any of that made sense.
It totally did. And I think that this is a great blueprint for being the rebel, is not to go from 0 to 2000 and stand out on the pulpit shouting about things that you haven't really researched, especially as white presenting people.
Mm-hmm.
Any person, I actually am white. I am as European, like Eastern, or not Eastern, Western European, the British Isles, a little bit of Germany,
I can see you there.
a tiny bit of Jewish, like literally 1%. I am white. I am white as we come, pretty much. But I have my own intersections of identity, being a queer person and having grown up in poverty, not even middle class status. Like, we all have our intersections. So we have our lived experience, but we don't know what other people's lived experience is. And especially if we're white or white presenting, we want to be really careful not to speak on behalf of other people or to claim to know, because we can do more harm, which is why that gradual approach is, I think, good. We can absolutely at any point say, I think what's happening right now is not okay, because people are being harmed. Like, you do not need to know anything to know that people being harmed is bad and wrong and shouldn't be happening. No human on the earth deserves to be harmed for existing. But beyond that, we probably want a little more nuance, and we want to understand, why do I want to speak about this? What's important? Where do I get to bring my perspective? I get to bring my voice as a queer person. You get to bring your voice as a Puerto Rican person, like, to the fray, because that's what it feels like right now, of trying to navigate this just ongoing generational stuff. But I love that you were saying, essentially, I was to this for this group. And I remembered being bisexual, and the gay group didn't want to accept me because I wasn't gay enough, but the straight group didn't want to accept me because I was queer, period.
Wow.
And like, that kind of stuff, to this for this group, is exactly why we're in the circumstances that we're in as a human collective. It's needing people to fit one dominant perspective, one box of this is your identity, and play in that, and you can't play outside of that. And so I just want to say, I wanted to give that voice too for everyone else out there that feels like they're in this weird, I don't fit in anywhere space, because you've probably been called too much of something or not enough of something else. And that does create a wound. That does create a wiring that we then have to overcome. Well, if we want, we don't have to, but it's usually pretty limiting. How did that wound of feeling like you were too white for some groups, but then you also didn't feel right in other groups? Like, what did that do for you as you grew up and you became an adult? Where did you see yourself as too much of this?
Oh, I didn't really have friends. I mean, like when I first learned about human design and it said I was a line 4, which is like the people person or the networker, I was like, this is fucking wrong. You lost me there. You had me at manifesting generator. You lost me there. And I had to take a break from it and come back and be like, okay, why do I feel like this isn't me? And when I look back on my childhood, I was just so deeply afraid of rejection. Like that's what a line 4 tends to see. It's always the opposite of like what the medicine is. If people are our medicine, the opposite is the rejection from people. So, I mean, I have very vivid memories of certain cafeterias in high school and in college where I was just sitting alone, or I wouldn't even go to lunch because like my roommate wasn't there. And I was like, I can't just show up alone, and just so much aloneness. Over time, I will say human design and the work of Brene Brown on vulnerability really helped me. And I just started to trust in who I was. I mean, that's the gift human design has given me, is I've trusted that I was designed to be this too much rebellious, outspoken person. And if people don't like me, that is their loss, because I know like I am a gift to this world. I know I bring energy of love and magic to every room I step in, but that took years. That took years to know about myself. And even so, like last summer, I went to a retreat. I was invited to a private retreat that had like 40 of some of the biggest names in like the virtual coaching, spiritual, all of that space. And I was like, I don't think I can go to this. And thankfully, my husband is like my biggest cheerleader, and he really helped me step into that. But even being in that room, I had to like exit and do a meditation of power reclamation and then like come back in and just like remind myself, I'm not kidding you, that like I belong in that room, because we all belong in any fucking room we want to be in.
Yeah.
But it is like this consistent knowing of like, I am just right. And I am also a mirror for other people. You are a mirror for me. If something you said triggered me, or I didn't like it, I'd be like, okay, what's that in me? I just know they get to be my friend, or I get to be their mirror for something that they get to work on. But that's taken time to really trust myself like that.
Yeah. And I love what you spoke to of the in and out nature of this. It is an ebb and flow. I call it the shadow light dance.
Yes.
And we're spiraling upward, but we always hit that like triggered point again and again. And to just be able to be gentle and meet ourselves where we're at. Like, hey, you have made progress. It's okay. You're feeling this like not enoughness or too muchness. What skills and tools have you learned along the way to tend to yourself? And you have them, like that meditation. We step out, we tune in, we tend to ourselves. And that is, I think that's part of the leadership of being rebels in this point in time, is taking care of ourselves. That's somehow rebellious for us to put ourselves first and take care of our needs, not because what is acceptable in mainstream is stepping on the backs of poor people to make yourself really rich. And then you're somehow exonerated and given this like morally superior stance when you actually harmed people to get where you're at. That's not what standing in leadership is about. Standing in leadership is like, I'm responsible for myself. I care for myself. And then from this resourced place, I get to overflow my gifts and my love into the world. And like, you're very clearly anchored more on that side these days than that side that we as survivors have been, which is the victim. When we've survived, we have been the victim, and it's so easy to reject love and all kinds of things because of that.
Yeah, just recently unearthed a new layer of rejecting my husband's love. That's something that we're working through. And it's manifested, of course, in my physical body with like certain uterine tilting and like weird shit, literally weird shit, pelvic tilting that makes it painful to have sex and like all it's like this shit's real, guys.
It's real. And our bodies communicate so much with us.
Yeah, we
That
just gotta
is,
listen.
yeah. So in that love reclamation, what are at this point in time in the midst of the journey,
Mm.
to anyone else going through their own reclamation journey and navigating these tender spaces, what would you have to say?
It's all a fucking experiment and you just get to play. I know that sometimes it does feel really dark and really hard. And I think those parts are important, but I do very much believe in like bringing play and curiosity to the shadow journaling, the shadow work, like just as much as anything else. I mean, balance has to exist. And the more that you can just get really curious about, like, oh, why did I just want to punch that person in the fucking face? Like, okay, let's explore that instead of just like letting the trigger or the emotion take over your whole world. How can you just explore it? Knowing that you can't fuck it up. You cannot fuck anything up. Nothing is going to get fucked up if you say yes, if you say no, if you journal or versus meditate or dance or like whatever. There's a million tools out there. Just have fun and experiment with all the things that feel really good and right for you. And then if it feels like that's not right for you anymore, you try something new. But really, curiosity is like one of my favorite words. It's definitely a core value of my business because if there's anything I can do for people when my clients are like really dumpy, I'm like, well, let's just get curious about this. Like, what could this be trying to tell you? And how can you play with the energy a little bit more, play with the inner child instead of constantly trying to reparent?
And this is with what you just said, this came in really strong. We can overdo the self development as
Mhm.
a response to having been so wounded as children and
Yeah.
younger adults. Like we can get trapped in, oh no, bad things happen to me. I'm broken. I need to fix myself.
Yes.
I need to constantly be healing and constantly be doing self work.
Yep. That's me. Hi, Capricorn Stellium again.
And that's like I get, and I've definitely been completely in that depth. I only
Yeah.
have like the tiniest bit of Capricorn in my chart, but I'm an overdoer, overachiever, overfunctioner. And so doing my self-work was like, I'm not happy in my relationships. It must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, maybe it's that I'm not asking for what I need, or I'm communicating, but the other person can't actually meet that need. And I need to see that at face value and move on with myself. This is where the empowerment piece comes
Yeah.
in big time too, because it's not empowered to constantly be burning yourself out doing the self
Mhm.
work either.
Yeah. Over time, you'll start to like feel what the shift feels like, which is what I just went through over the past month, where I was noticing that like my old deep divey tools, like they weren't really working. They weren't really making me feel like I was out of freeze mode. And so I was like, oh, what if I just go back to the light and fluffy manifestation stuff?
Yeah,
I used to hate that shit, but I'll tell you, it's because I was so subconsciously wounded. It didn't work for me. Right.
right.
But now I'm like, back in that season of like let's just play in the mind space and it's working for me. So like just let your body lead you.
Yeah, listen to the prompting rather than mind over matter. This is what I have to do, right? Like following that intuition. And that's part of reclaiming your spirit,
Yeah.
is reclaiming whatever. We are all intuitive
Yeah.
in our own way.
You can borrow my rebellion any day you want. If you just need my energy, like go listen to the podcast or just look at a picture of me and be like, I'm just gonna borrow her rebellious energy or Safriana's and like just like what would they do right now?
Yeah, I mean, we all have our role models, the people that we look to that are like, man, they
Yeah.
have overcome some shit. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, it was Maya Angelou.
Oh,
It was Maya Angelou survived some awful childhood sexual
mm,
assaults, and it left her speechless, like nonverbal
really.
for years.
Mhm.
And yet she became this woman who was a nationally, if not internationally recognized poet and speaker and author and all of these incredible things. And so, yeah, we all have our people to look to. So look to us if you need that bridge, if you need that scaffold, but know that the power exists in you.
Yeah.
And there's, just as Adriana has suggested, like human design is a tool you can use to start to get curious about how you were designed and what that means for you, even if it doesn't click right away.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned, like, and I'm curious, in your experience, for people who are looking up their human design for the first time and they're not feeling resonant with it, why might that be? And what would you recommend in terms of them sitting with it?
First and foremost, one of the obvious answers, but I have to say it, is make sure your birth time is correct. The amount of mothers who can't remember accurate birth times is very large. So you can always call like your town hall that you were the town you were born in. There's lots of ways that you can find the time you were born. So verify that first, because I don't want to send you on a journey that you don't need to go down. But second, it is conditioning. The amount of people who are projectors who've been clients of mine where they're like, that is not me. I work 9 to 5 and then I work another job on the weekends. And I'm like, yeah, but does that actually feel good? And they're like, I don't know. I just do it, right? Where projectors really are not designed to work that amount of like, especially physical work. But we just get it so ingrained in our bodies and our brains. It's literally like brainwashing that we cannot feel or see or perceive a different way. But like I say, if you just get curious, well, what if that's not true for me? What if I am a nonlinear being that's kind of like a drunk butterfly all over the place, like myself, and probably you, Safriana? And it's okay that I don't finish everything I start. Like, what could that mean for me? Really, this is where like going back in your childhood and like trying to remember what your parents or caregivers or whoever said to you about certain things, like, oh, you can never finish anything you start, or don't even bother trying because you won't work at it, anything like that. Where did you pick up these kinds of beliefs? I don't know when this is airing, but of course, just today in my community, we kicked off the rebirth deconditioning journey where we go through all of that step by step alongside your human design. And it is just like peeling the layers back and just, again, getting curious, not with pressure, not with fixing energy, but like, isn't that interesting? What if that's not my truth? What could life look like then?
Yes. And I just want to speak to the ownership piece. Like, own who you really are, not the stories,
Yeah.
and own where you may do harm, but not make stuff up. Like, it's
hmm
finding this balance between self honesty and curiosity and a willingness to grow
Yeah.
and just show up in your messy ass human life, because
Yeah.
there ain't no one else out here living a perfect, unmessy life. If they
If they
say they
say
are,
they are, they're lying.
don't trust them.
Yeah.
That's a red flag. Run away. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Whenever
And
something's
find a community. Find people who are also looking to better themselves, because if not, it is a very lonely journey. That was my
yes.
first few years.
Speaking of which, you offer community spaces. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you if you would like to speak a little to that?
Yeah. My community is called the Magnetic Rebellion, and you can find that at themagneticrebellion.com. It is not human design only, it is a space for the spiritually curious. So we explore a lot of different systems in there, and somatic and embodiment work. But my website in general is adrianakeefe.com. The podcast is the No BS Human Design podcast. I do have a second podcast coming out that is going to be, it's very fun. We've already recorded a bunch of it. It's me and a partner, Lindsay Robinson. And it's literally like, do you know the podcast Call Her Daddy?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And well, at least it used to be. It's very like taboo spirituality, like the things that people don't want to talk about. That's what that podcast is.
Mm.
So you'll find it on my website soon, or Instagram is Adri Keefe, Adri Keefe.
Perfect. Thank you so much. You have such a wealth of just knowledge and applied wisdom. Knowledge, you can read all the books that you want all day and
Mm.
take all the courses, but wisdom is where you really apply that knowledge to your life. And Adriana, you apply it. And I appreciate that, because it is in embodying that and being that out in the world that we really do make our difference.
Thank
So,
you.
is there anything else you'd like to leave people with today about rebellion, our design, or
Mm.
anything else, spiritual reclamation?
Mm. Rebellion is not about rebelling just for the sake of rebelling, but rebellion should feel a little bit edgy, a little bit sexy for you, but not necessarily to gain attention or attraction. It is just like pushing your edges. So I feel like I needed to say that. Like, it's not like going like, fuck the police and like all like just.
Though maybe, but yes, that's that ownership piece. It's like, don't go make the world a worse place.
Yes, right. Don't go making shit worse. Like, do allow what's naturally trying to flow through you and push your edges. And that's where your rebellion lies.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you all out there found this conversation useful as well. Please go check out Adriana's work wherever you would like to listen to her podcast, look at her content on her site, etc. Join the community if you'd like. And know that we're here cheering you on. It's not easy being human at this point in time, but we're doing our best.
Preach.
All right, my friends, until next time, this has been an episode of The Shadow Side. I see you, I believe in you, and as always, I'm cheering you on. Bye for now.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of this conversation today. Thanks for being brave enough to walk in the shadows with me. If you found value in this episode, please consider subscribing to Shadow Side with Safrianna wherever you listen to your podcasts, and leave a review to help others find the space of transparency and expansion. You can also connect with me at safrianna.com for more information. Until next time, know I'm loving you fiercely and cheering you on.